Thank you. I highly recommend you check out the Amazon Prime documentary called Cybercrime. It's educational, it's for families, it's for everyone who wants to be informed on how to be safer in the online world. As the cyber criminals are out there, the scammers are there, they're looking to steal our information, our identities, anything that they can gather to sell and or gain money and improve their own financial gain. They're looking for that information, and this documentary really helps you in focusing on what you should be doing to protect yourself and your families. And again, it's a family-oriented movie. It's for everyone on all levels. So, talking about cybercrime, cyber criminals, hackers, scammers, anywhere from trying to get you to buy gift cards to getting you to actually wire money to their bank account instead of somebody else's. The fraud is real. It's something that we work with every single day. We see this happening. We've worked with the Secret Service on wire fraud. We've worked with the FBI and CIA on different cases where this is happening to businesses throughout the world. And when we look at this, it's not just something that businesses are dealing with today. When our governments are stepping in and saying, look, we're taking a stance against cyber criminals and we want to put efforts in place and start making fines and jail time a reality, then we need to, as business owners, look at our own businesses and say, what have I built and how do I best protect that? Because these cyber criminals are coming for you. They're coming after your business, and what you've taken 1 year, 5 years, 30 years to build and grow and maintain, these guys can wipe it out in a matter of hours with ransomware. So we are at war with cyber criminals, and this is something that you really need to take advice on from an IT professional. If you don't have an IT professional out there working with you for your organization, then I highly recommend that you hire one, because there's so many different companies out there that are leaking our information, our passwords, our data, our information that we trusted them to have, to maintain and hold for us. They want to, they're not protecting that data. They're letting it leak. They have insecure systems, and what's happening is people's information is getting compromised and it is getting sold on the dark web. And so I really, we've seen the slide here of talking about what the dark web is and where it's an underground, back alley kind of place that seems scary, but it's anonymous, right? Your transactions are anonymous. If you're using a VPN, you're bouncing your IP around, you can go in there and you can buy pretty much anything that you'd like to off the internet without people knowing. You need a Tor browser to get there, but once you're there, you can buy anything. You can buy ransomware as a service. So you could do a ransomware attack on your competitor. This is the reality of where we are today. It used to be mainly for cannabis, opioids, different types of drugs, weapons that you can purchase online, things of that nature. And you can go to these sites and they just have, it's like an Amazon of whatever it is that you would like to buy, and they keep your identity private, and you have no idea who's out there buying what. And there's credit card information. You see these credit card skimmers, and they talk about how they've captured your credit card. Sometimes you don't realize that your credit cards have been compromised, and or your bank accounts. And so the one recommendation I would make is set up text alerts to every single card that you have, and get a text for any amount that's charged to that card or authorized over $1. Because a lot of times they'll authorize a transaction just to verify that the card is valid. And on the dark web, they'll actually sell you 100 credit cards, and they'll guarantee that 75% of them work. If that number doesn't work out, then they'll send you another 100. So they have service level agreements with what they're selling as far as our information, our data, our credit card, our social security numbers on the internet or on the dark web. So I highly recommend you do that. Look at, in the US, 143 million Americans had their information, complete information about their identities, compromised through Equifax. That information was then put on the dark web for sale. So you need to have credit monitoring. If you don't have that set up, you should absolutely set up credit monitoring and notifications so that you get notified of when your credit score changes and or these other things change. I would also recommend that you set it up for your kids and your families. If your child has a social security number, then you want to monitor that because you want to make sure that the cyber criminals don't take over their identities and use those for other instances that they need. Passwords. Password hygiene is the number one thing that you can do to really protect yourself because 8.4 billion passwords are online. Google will tell you today, hey, this password is online, you need to go change it. It is best and recommended that every single password that you use for every single login is 100% unique. Don't just change it by adding 2 or 3 letters at the end every single month. You need to have complex passwords. If you don't know how to remember your passwords, then use a password manager, something like LastPass. That will actually remember your passwords for you, and they are stored encrypted. And please don't use Google Chrome or any other web service to store your passwords for you. Go ahead and use a third-party application, put that password in there, and let it help you generate a secure password as well as help you remember that password. If you forget it, you can go reset it. When you do need to change that password, then you can go and update the password in one place. If you find that that password has been compromised, instead of having to go change it across every site that you use that password for, you go change it at the one location. And that's why we need to practice better password hygiene. These were the common passwords. Password was a common password, and this was the top 40 in the list. And you can see that over 9 million people had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as their password. It's, you know, we get lazy sometimes, right? It's like I can't remember everything, and I have so many sites now that I have to log into. But I want you to be careful because if you get a notification from Microsoft or your mail provider and it says, hey, we need you to authenticate who you are or verify who you are, or to review this, you need to enter your credentials. Chances are it's going to capture your credentials and send that to the bad guys. So make sure that you're very diligent in looking at the emails, pay attention to what's going on. I know we're all busy, we're running at breakneck speeds, and we're trying to get business done so that we can go home and spend time with our families. But I highly recommend that as you're sitting in your inbox and you're working through there, if you see a task that looks suspicious, think about it. Because the question that I have for you here is, can anybody tell me which one of these 2 passwords or these 2 emails is legit? At looking at it, you really can't tell. But neither one of these are legit. But one of them came from a guy that I know, and it said, hey, I need you to review these documents. I emailed him, I said, what documents do you need me to review? And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I got hacked. Don't open that email. This is happening every single day. It's happening with invoices, supply chain, people that you know, you work with. So if you're not expecting something from a vendor and they send you an attachment or a link to click on, you may want to pick up the phone and call them. I had a guy send me an email one time and I replied back and said, what is this? And he said, it's a proposal. So I messaged him on Facebook and I said, hey, what did you send me via email? And he said, I've been hacked. So I was contacting, by emailing back and asking a question, it was the criminal that had access to his inbox that was answering me. So be careful what you're doing and what you're clicking on. Ransomware, it's real. There's a law firm down in Atlanta, in the US. They had 140 users. It was Christmas Eve. They set off ransomware. They were down for 2 weeks. Over 5,000 Over 5 million files encrypted, 75,000 US dollars to pay the ransom. Their backups were corrupted. We're seeing ransomware hit worldwide. It's everywhere. It's rampant. And you see nothing but news articles, article after article, of where these cyber attacks are happening. And you wonder, how did this happen, right? Then we look at the NSA. The NSA has tools that they use to spy and look and gather information and details. And it was meant to be used for the good, right? To gather information to keep our countries secure and sharing of information when we find a threat. What happened was the bad guys broke in and stole the tools. And if you remember this, when the NSA was breached, these tools went up for sale at an auction. And the problem was that they couldn't get the amount of money for the tools that they wanted. So they decided, you know what, let's do this. Let's lower the price and sell it to the masses. So instead of selling it to one buyer, they sold it to hundreds of thousands of buyers. And so now those NSA tools for hacking, setting off ransomware, accessing systems, prying and listening in on what we're doing and how we're doing it is all in the hands of cyber criminals. So when you get attacked, who will they blame? Are they going to blame you, the business owner? If your clients get an email, if you get a wire fraud request and you send the money and the company you're dealing with says, we never got the money, who then is responsible? Is it you for sending the wire, or is it them that requested it maybe from their inbox but they didn't know it? Now we get into the legalities of whose problem is it, and then those funds are already gone. If the funds are gone, how are you going to get it back, and how are you going to get paid? These are all things that you have to really think about before they happen, put policies in place, and make sure that people have policies and understand how to do wire transfers. The way I can do a wire transfer is I have to go to my bank. It sucks when I'm out of town. It's hard to deal with when I'm out of town and I'm traveling, but it's just the reality. The other thing that I do is I ask them when they send the wiring information, if they would leave out at least 4 or 5 digits. And then when I get there, I have the bank teller call the company with the known number that I know where the people are, and I ask them to tell us the missing digits. That way, when I do a wire transfer, I know that it is going to the proper person. So just little policies, little changes, education of your staff, you can really go a long ways with this. So we're going to talk about something that you can do to protect your business. How many people in here are business owners? How many people in here have a computer? Right? These are all things that every single one of you can do to protect yourselves and make sure that you're staying safe online. So we're going to start out with a security assessment. Get this done by a third party. The third party will come in, they'll evaluate everything, they can do penetration testing and verify that your IT person has everything taken care of. I own an IT company. I tell all of my clients, at least annually have a third party, pay somebody else to come in and make sure that they check behind us and do checks and balances. If they find something wrong, I want to know about it before the cyber criminals find that back door or find a way in. So if your IT guy gives you big complaints about this, then you need to ask yourself, why is he scared? What's he not doing? How's he not protecting this? And wouldn't you want to protect your business? You've grown it. So don't you want to know that it is secure? And if you're paying an IT company, whether you're paying them $1,200 a month or $50,000 a month to maintain your IT for you, don't you want to know that they're doing a great job? Then spend the money and get a security audit done. Spam protection. This is a must. You can't just rely on what Microsoft gives you. You can't say, Microsoft Office 365 is good enough. I'm going to turn that on and they'll filter everything out. They're not looking for links. They're not looking for certain types of attack. They're not looking for certain threats. So make sure that you get a mail protection in place. And then group policies. This is the one easy thing that you could do. If you're on a network environment in your office, you have a server, Office 365, put a lockout policy on your passwords. That one simple thing will allow you to have an account that gets locked out after, say, 5 failed attempts. So if a user's trying to log in, 5 attempts, no wrong password, they get locked out. That 8.4 billion password list can't be a brute force attack against your company if you have that one policy set in place. It's minor security tweaks that you can do that allow you to better protect your business that you've grown. Don't you want to protect that business? You've worked hard at growing it and getting it where it is today. So make sure you have group policies and account lockouts in place. Computer updates. This is the easiest thing to do. All software updates have to be updated. Any managed service provider out there that you hire should be able to set this up for you and make it automated, and then verify that it's actually being done. So you can run Windows updates on your own just to check to make sure your IT guy is doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's all simple stuff. Making sure firewalls are in enterprise level. Small businesses used to not be able to afford an enterprise level firewall. Today, we can set up a firewall affordable for a small to medium sized business that will do data loss protection. Data loss protection is simply if somebody says, hey, I need you to get me some Apple gift cards and send me that information via email. If you put those in there, it's going to recognize that it's a credit card type number, and it's going to strip that out of the email. It's also going to strip out anything that is personal identifiable information, PII, like your social security numbers, things of that nature. So if a hacker should get access to your systems and you have data loss protection in place, then the firewall will actually keep that information from leaving the office unless you encrypt that email. And that's the only way it's going to get out. And that's the way you should be sending personal information, is through encryption. And that's the encryption that we're talking about, is encrypting that email, but then we're also talking about encrypting the laptop or the device that you're using. Because if your laptop walks out, say you leave it sitting while you go to the restroom at a coffee shop, or as one client did, they propped their hotel room door open while he got his bags and set stuff inside, and somebody grabbed his laptop in that short time. So you just have to be careful of where you're leaving your device, laying it around, and making sure that you are protecting yourself and that device. And if that device gets lost or stolen, that it is encrypted so they can't gain access to the data. If it is not encrypted and you have customer information on there, it is a data breach, and that has to be reported. So one small step is to do encryption so that you don't have to do that. Security awareness training. It is the #1 way to ensure that your employees are trained and up to date on the latest threats that are out there. This is the creative ways that hackers are gaining access to systems. We're constantly updating our security awareness training and teaching employees of businesses how to better protect themselves and the organization by not clicking on links and things that they shouldn't be doing. We're also sending phishing emails. This is a very inexpensive, cost-effective way to test your employees. Wouldn't you like to know that your employee clicked on a link and would have submitted information or allowed a hacker access to their system before it's the actual hacker sending them the information? So why not pay to have phishing done on your organization as a test to see how well your employees do? I own an IT company. It's full of IT guys, and everybody's technical. We've literally had 3 people clicking on links during our phishing test because we sent out surveys through SurveyMonkey, and they thought it was a legit survey, but it wasn't. You can trick your own employees. Even if they are technologically savvy, you need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to keep them on your toes. They click that link too many times, I guarantee you, my guys don't click links anymore. They call to verify the link is valid, or hey, did you send me this? So make sure you're doing that. Web gateway. If you have a enterprise level firewall at your office, even if you don't, you can download a VPN for your device. If you're using the public Wi-Fi here, your information can be captured if there's a man-in-the-middle Wi-Fi device that's on the same name as this organization, as the conference here. I go into that in cybercrime. I actually sit in a coffee shop and I grab some data, clear passwords out of the air through a wireless by becoming a man-in-the-middle. I didn't do it to anybody at the restaurant. I actually set up the devices so that I wouldn't compromise somebody's systems, but it's very easily done, and it's very easy for people to just connect to free Wi-Fi because their internet's slow or they just want it for convenience. So make sure that you're using a VPN. And then advanced endpoint protection. Use something that's AI-based. Don't use definition-based. Today, with the way AI is, it's a learning mechanism. It can figure out and know that this is a threat. This looks dangerous, and it will at least stop it and then ask you if you want to proceed or get the tech guys to give you authorization to proceed. Backups. 100% need to make sure that you have access to your backups. And here's one policy and regulation that you need to put in place across all your systems and verify with your IT company. If you have access to the backups from the servers and those passwords are saved, then you are not compliant. And if a threat actor, hacker, scammer gets access to your server, they can and they will delete your backups before setting off ransomware. That's how the law firm got hit. The hackers were in their system for 9 months, looking for data, grabbing information out, pulling out what they could sell, and then they disabled the backups. They actually didn't disable the backups. They set the backups to only back up one directory so there wouldn't be any errors in the backup reports. What the IT guys didn't notice was the amount of data that was being backed up changed. And then they deleted all the old backups. So set that policy, verify your backups are working, and make sure that you're keeping up with that. That is one way to not pay the ransom, is being able to restore your data. The other thing is dark web search. You can now there's services online, there's services we offer where we're monitoring the dark web. We're looking for emails that have been compromised, passwords that have been compromised. We're looking for even credit card information. If you're a banking authority and you want us to monitor the first 7 digits, your BIN of your credit cards, we can monitor that for you. It's all about setting it up. The way I like to talk about this is if you take your car to a mechanic and you give them all of your keys and then you fill out your name, address, and everything, wouldn't you want to know that the mechanics made copies of your key before they walked into your living room? So why wouldn't you want to know that your passwords have been compromised so that you know to go change it? If your credit card gets compromised, do you just let the criminals keep using it and keep charging stuff so that you can pay for it? No. Same thing for your passwords. Make sure you're monitoring that. And then multi-factor authentication. This is an easy step that you can put in place that will allow you to make sure that in the event that your passwords get compromised, that they still would need access to a 2FA app. I highly recommend using an app over SMS text messaging because text messaging can be gathered from a Raspberry Pi device with open source software. It's very simple to set up that software and have it right outside your house, right outside your office, and gather your text messages as they're coming through. Text messages are insecure. They're not secure. They can't be protected. And so therefore, I recommend 2FA, you use a third-party software such as Duo, Authenticator, Authy. Google has their version, Microsoft has their version. Pick an app, go with it, use it for every single login that you have. Passwords. How do you know if they're online? The dark web monitoring allows you to know if your passwords have been compromised. This is for businesses. If you have a Gmail account, Google's already going to tell you, hey, your password showed up in a database, please go change it, right? This is for business type emails. You see these passwords, some of these were in plain text, like the top 3, and then some of them are actually encrypted. Well, the problem with encryption is you can just Google search hash cracker, and if that hash is a known hash, like some of these passwords that have been taken off of LinkedIn and Facebook and some of these other sites that were compromised, you can dump that hash into the hash checker, and it will tell you in plain text what that decryption is. It'll tell you what the password is in clear text. Cyber insurance. This is a must. Purchase cyber insurance for your business. It's expensive, but there's policies and procedures. There's things that they're going to ask you so that it can get approved by underwriting. Make sure that you're following along with that. It is best to follow through and fill out everything that is given to you by the cyber insurance company. In the event that you have an incident, the first thing you do is not turn off the computer. The first thing you do is you unplug it from the network, you disable the switches in your server room, and then you call your cyber liability insurance company and you say, how should I handle this threat? What are the steps I need to take? And if you want to go a step further, before the incident actually happens, go ahead and write out your policies of how do you recover from these events. So, easy things that you can do: employee training, block essential, have the essential security in place for your firewalls to block data leaving your office and know what data is leaving. And then have password management. Monitor the dark web for passwords so you know when they're out there. So we look at our governments and we say they're spending a lot of money on cybersecurity and education. You as a business owner, shouldn't you be spending some money on cybersecurity and understanding that your business is something that is worth protecting? If our governments are doing it and paying attention to it, you know it's a big threat and it's a big problem. These criminals are out there. They're using multiple devices. They're calling you. They're phishing for information. They're trying to trick you into clicking links. This is organized crime, and it's a huge business, and they're after your business. So go out there, protect your businesses, and making sure that you're doing what you can. Abu Dhabi, they actually, trained 58,000 healthcare workers. Shouldn't you be training your workers, right? Go out there, make this happen. Take the measures, take the steps. What are you going to do to protect your business? What would you do? Hopefully today you've learned something that can protect your business. I'm offering a free forensic dark web scan for businesses, not Gmail, not your Yahoo. You already know those passwords have been compromised. If you have a business email and you want to know if there's passwords out there that are for sale or available on the dark web, just go to passwordguardians.com, fill out the form with your email address, and when you put in the promo code Dubai, I'll do a free forensic scan of the dark web for your business. No obligation, no charge, no nothing, right? I just want to make sure that businesses are protected. Thank you.